if you're a guitar player in 2024 and beyond, looking to get a killer, thick, in-your-face bass tone, in this video, I will be showing you guys how to do that. For those of you who don't know, hi, my name is Dante. I am a guitar player and bass player turned audio engineer, aiming to give you guys the best possible advice that I can give in terms of audio production in the modern metal, punk, rock, and alternative scene. With that being said, like I had mentioned, today I'll be showing you guys how to get a very awesome bass tone by simply using plugins. With that being said, let's hop into a real quick metal mix and see what we're working with. Now that mix is out of the way, let's hop in to my Pro Tool session and see what we got. But before I hop into this video, there's a couple things I do want to touch on before we even look into how to dial this tone in. First things first, all the plugins that I will be using here and any other products that will be featured in this video are products that I paid for out of my own pocket. You know, none of these brands are sponsoring this video. Just want to give you guys a heads up on that. Now that that's out of the way, let's just kind of go over what I did beforehand to get a really good signal going into my computer. For my bass, I used this very bass here. It is the ESP LTD Surveyor 87 reissue. It's their take on a PJ bass. I used both pickups in 50-50 split, volume tone all the way up. I have a new set of strings and did have this set up properly for the tuning, which this is an E standard. So I do recommend you guys putting a new set of strings on and also getting a proper setup just so we have the best performing instrument when recording. And that goes for all genres of music for any instrument. With that being said, I didn't use an amp to record this. What I did was I just recorded a direct signal. So it's an unprocessed signal straight from my bass. I used that. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. The most popular way is literally just using a DI box, like this radial DI, but the way I did it was I used my Line 6 Helix to do that. The main reason I did that is just so I can have some level of compression and limiting going into my computer. If you don't know what compression is and you guys want to know, let me know and I can make a video on that. I will leave a screenshot up on the screen now so you guys can kind of see the general settings I used for both of my, because I used two compressors. I can show you guys a quick screenshot just so you guys can see whatever settings I have. Now that that's out of the way, when recording, you want to make sure you have a very clean signal going in. So you make sure you're not clipping on the way in, and you also want to make sure that your signal isn't super quiet either. If you happen to have a DAW that shows how loud your signal is in terms of dB, I recommend aiming anywhere between -20 to -12, but personally I aim for some between -18 to -15 dBs in gain coming in. So there's that, and make sure you're actually giving it a pretty decent performance too, and you're hitting your strings accordingly, because you don't want a weak performance as well, because that'll change kind of how the song sounds. Now that that's out of the way, let's hop into my Pro Tools session and see what we're working with here. So it's a pretty big session. I'm going to be doing screenshots. I'm not going to be doing a live screen share feed. But here's my Pro Tools session with all my tracks. Not a lot, but there is kind of a lot of processing going on. Something I do recommend that everybody does regardless of what DAW you're using or what genre you're in, and what genre you're mixing, is organize your tracks, because it's going to make your life easier. And if you end up sending over, your session over to another engineer, it's going to make their lives easier too. So make sure you color code everything, make sure you label everything, and make sure you have all the according instruments where they're like next to each other. Like for example, if you have like a drum set, make sure all the drums are in next to each other, all guitars are next to each other, but that'll be for another video. Anyway, let's hop into this bass track. So I literally just had one bass track, clean bass track, which sounds like this. So yeah, that's the clean bass, that's the unprocessed bass tone with literally just compression going in. What I did is after I got done recording it, I split the bass track, or I copied and pasted the bass track onto 3 separate tracks. So I have a clean sub, like a subby bass track. Then I have a mid-range frequency track, and then I also have like a treble presence top end track. The reason I'm doing this is just so I can process each frequency range differently, and to give different textures, and so to give just each frequency range their own texture, and to help give the track just a bit more energy. It's just this is kind of a standard thing in most metal and rock production, is to have at least 2 bass tones from one performance. I'll start with the sub track. Literally, all I'm doing is I have 2 plugins. It's literally an EQ, a single frequency EQ cutoff. It's a high cut at 150 hertz. That's just again keeping all the sub information, and just kind of it helps isolate the root note, and just to help get rid of everything above 150 hertz. And then secondly, I have a compressor which is doing pretty heavy compression. It's a 6:1 ratio. I'll leave a screenshot of the settings just so you guys can see where I'm at. I have a 6:1 ratio, so it's clamping down pretty hard, just to help keep the low end consistent, because if you don't have a consistent low end, your track's gonna kind of fall short. That's why I'm compressing the bass, this frequency range, that way. That's it for the sub track. Now let's go on to the mid-range frequency bands. This has a bit more processing on it. So what I have is I have another EQ. It's the same EQ plugin. It's literally just a low cut, high cut, low cut at 150, high cut at 2K. So you want to make sure when you're if you're doing splitting it like this, and you're doing low end, high end, you want to make sure that your low end and high end have a crossover frequency, like this, just so you're not really getting any weird phasing or weird frequency drop offs, because that can interfere with everything else and just make your bass tone sound weird, and it also may just make the relation between the other frequency ranges sound really weird. So make sure you're using a crossover point, again 150 hertz and 2K. And then I'm also using another compressor. This is actually a compressor from Plugin Alliance. This is, I believe, a free plugin. So yeah, it's a really cool. I'm not really sure what it's based off of, but it's like a pedal, like a compressor pedal emulation. You have density, level, trim, and speed. So density is just kind of like where your threshold is. Speed is just kind of the amount of compression, and your trim is literally just your gain. Here are the settings I'm using here. And then after that, I have, which is another Plugin Alliance plugin. This one's, I know for a fact, is free. It's the Yellow Driver, which is actually based off the Boss Super Overdrive, which I actually have that sitting right over here on my pedal board. I love that pedal. I just love that mid-range texture that this pedal has. I just have I have just a standard overdrive with setup for metal, level, max, drive 0 with tone set to taste. I'm not using too much tone. I'm just kind of boosting it just a little bit, just to help give it a little bit more presence, and also just to help saturate the signal a little bit more too, because I felt like it was a little mid-range, needed a bit of saturation to help it stand out a bit. And then last plugin is a Pro Tools plugin. It's the 11 Mark II plugin, which is an amp sim. I ended up using their DC bass head with the 810 blue line bass cab. Settings here, so I cut like all the bass and a majority of the mid-range. The reason I cut all the bass out of it is because, you know, I have the clean subjects taking care of all that. Cut a good amount of the mid-range just because, you know, I don't want the bass to interfere with the mid-range of the guitar, so I cut that a little bit. Treble, I left the way it is. Presence, I left where it is because I kind of like how that sounded. I did boost the input gain a little bit from where the default was, just because I felt like I needed a little bit more signal going into the amp. And then for the mic, I'm using what's the Dynamic 421, which is based off the Sennheiser MD 421, which I really like how that particular mic sounds on a bass, so I chose it here. And then, you know, we also have an on access and off access switch. I did off access because it darkens it up a little bit and, you know, gets rid of some of those treble-y frequencies that I don't really need in a mid-range bass track. So that's that. Here's the before. And then here's the after. All right, so let's go on to the last track here, which is kind of everything above 2K. Again, I have just single band EQ here. At 2K, it's doing 12 dBs per octave, just to help isolate everything above 2K. Okay, after that, I didn't really use a compressor because you don't really need to compress. I felt like I didn't really need to compress the top end here too much, just because, you know, I just felt like I didn't really need to because it's top end's a little less dynamic in this instance. And then I ended up using the Pro Tools Tri-Knob Fuzz, which, you know, it came with my instance of Pro Tools. I don't know if you need to purchase it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I ended up having this when I first got Pro Tools. Here's the settings here. I have the sustain turned all the way up. The sustain is pretty much just the fuzz. The fuzziness comes out is where the fuzz sits. Volume, I didn't have too much volume. Tone, I did cut back it's below noon. The reason I did that is because because you're already isolating the top end. It kind of turning the knob up does get pretty nasty in the top end there, so I did pull it back to clean up the top end. And then after that, I used the Sans amp. It's the PSA1, which is like a rack mount preamp, if I remember correctly. On reading that up, but you know, it's been used in a lot of different places. Here's a screenshot of the settings I have. I just had the preamp generally where it is. I cut the buzz out because that's kind of like a mid-rangey, lower mid buzziness that I didn't really like. Punch I turned up a bit, which, you know, gives, you know, crunchiness kind of in like the upper mid-range I really like. Drive I turned up just so I can, you know, I can have that saturation I like. I cut the low end entirely because, again, you don't need low end. The two previous tracks are kind of covering those frequency ranges. And then high end I did pull back on this because, again, since I was using a fuzz before this, that was adding treble, and because this plugin does have a pretty generous amount of top end, I did cut it because I felt like I didn't need that much treble. Plus, it does fatigue the ears. It did fatigue my ears, so I was like, I don't need that. So pulled it back, and then I just level matched it coming out. And also I just did have a gate just to kind of cut back on, you know, the noise that all the other previous plugins and, you know, distortion on this particular track introduced. So yeah, here's what the top end. This is what the top track sounds like after processing. No, so that's all the plugins I used for each frequency range. The reason, again, why I did this, to reiterate, is just to help isolate each individual frequency range and process them differently to get one cohesive sound. After that, I just kind of blended in the different tones together to get, you know, a wall of sound. And after I kind of got where like I do have all three bass tracks being routed to a stereo bass bus. I'm not panning anything. The reason I just it's a habit to just, you know, every single bus I do, I make a stereo, but all the pan knobs on each individual bass track are in the center, because if you pan out the bass, especially the lower frequency bass stuff, you lose support in the middle, and bass is supposed to help support like the center area, so that's kind of why everything's panned there. But on this bus, there are just some mixing things I did, which, you know, helped shape the bass tone, bass tone, funny, just to help shape the bass tone a bit more, to help sit in the mix. So I am going to go over those just to show you guys general, like a basic introduction to how to mix bass as well in a track. So first thing I had is this impact plugin from Pro Tools. This is like an SSL style compressor. I have a 4:1 ratio, and I just set the threshold and everything else accordingly. The reason I did this is just to help glue the bass tracks, all 3 bass tracks together, and help them sit, you know, nicely and be one cohesive sound opposed to 3 separate things. So I just use this as glue. Another thing I did, after that compressor, I have this EQ plugin here, which I did just a low cut just to help clean up some of the subby low end. It's just to create some space for the kick drum at 45 hertz, and then I did a high cut at 10K to help just clean up the, you know, top end fizz and noise we don't really need up there. Then I did 2 kind of like upper mid range cuts. I did one at 1.6K and another at 3.7 just to help get rid, because those were just kind of standing out and getting in the way of the guitars. And plus there was some weird pick noise that I got rid of as well. So that's what that plugin is. Again, I'll show you guys a screenshot here. And then I have another compressor. I kind of use this as another form of glue. This is the Smack compressor from Pro Tools. Again, this came with Pro Tools, at least with my copy of Pro Tools. Here's my screenshot. The screenshot of what I used for settings. Again, just to help level out dynamics more and also help to glue everything together. Compression is very important with a bass guitar, because it helps keep everything consistent, because you need your bass to be consistent, because your bass guitar is a very important thing in a mix. It helps fill out the low end, and also so if you don't have a consistent low end with the bass, your track's going to be kind of inconsistent. Second to last plugin I have here, this one is not free. I paid I believe it was full price for this. This is the Magma BB tubes from Waves. It's a saturator plugin. What I did is I, you know, felt like the bass needed a little bit of something extra, so I used this to help drive the bass a bit more. I turned the transformer off. That's kind of the first thing I noticed, is that transformer does add kind of this lower mid-range energy that I didn't really need, so I turned that off. But the sensitivity I did turn up a little bit, which is sensitivity is basically just your input gain. Beauty I did have turned up to 25. Beauty is like a very mild saturation. I did that just to bring the bass forward a little bit. And then the Beast, I did use that as well. I have that just above 4. That is to help, that adds, you know, more aggressive harmonic distortion to help, you know, push the bass forward a little bit. And then I use the Type B voicing for the Beast, and I have it at 100% wet because I didn't really want to blend the clean signal in. And then lastly, I have this plugin from Waves Factory. It's the Track Spacer. The reason I use this is that I just use this as a side chain for my kick drum. So I side chain the kick drum to here to the bass, the bass bus. I did that just to help duck out the frequency range. What did I have it set at? So I had 76 and 153.5 hertz frequency range isolated, and I had that just to duck out that frequency range whenever the bass kicked. That's just a production thing, so you don't have to do that. And there's also one last level of processing that affected everything across the whole frequency, across all tracks, because I had all my buses routed to an instrument master before going out, and this was just to help glue everything else together, but that did impact the bass as well. On here, I had another instance of the impact compressor, which again is an SSL style compressor to my understanding. This one I had a lighter ratio. That's just to help glue the drums, the bass, and the guitar together. And then I had another instance of the BB tubes. Just another form of saturation to help again, glue the track together. And then I had this BX Master Desk. I believe this is like another compressor. I believe this one's free as well, but I kind of just did this to just kind of help shape the overall track. But yeah, so that's everything. Kind of a lot of processing for the bass. You can simplify this, but this is kind of my own personal way of processing bass. So if you guys want to know different ways of processing bass, or like different techniques, let me know in the comment section below. Definitely something I'd be willing to do for you guys. If you guys want more audio production tips, feel free to like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications to stay up to date with what I'm doing and to stay up to date with more audio production stuff. If you guys have any topics you guys want me to discuss, let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to touch on those topics for you guys. I do have some more stuff I'm working on right now in terms of audio production stuff that I am really happy to show you guys. But that being said, this is how you get a very, 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 very modern, in-your-face and grimy bass tone in 2024. With that being said, I'm looking forward to interacting with you guys. If you guys happen to be an artist that needs a track mixed and or mastered, click the link in the description box below to be taken to my website, so you guys can find a way to contact me. With that being said, I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about this and interacting with you guys. Looking forward to see you guys in the next video. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Rock on, guys.